What's going on, guys? Welcome back to another stimulus update. So I want to be very clear that what we're going to see over the next few days is going to be extremely impactful as to whether or not we see stimulus soon or we see it later. What I can tell you is today has been a very big day in regards to the stimulus or the upcoming stimulus that we're going to see and the talks around this sometime this week. So I just want you to be well aware of what we could see this week, because some of these things are going to be good, other things could potentially be bad. Now, before we get into the stimulus updates, I first want to address some of the big news out today. And if you got a chance to see former President Donald Trump speak today, then you know he said that maybe in 2024 he will win the presidency again for the third time. Now, that kind of just reiterates, first off, he does believe that he still won in 2020 over President Biden. It also means that he does have a pretty big or a pretty good idea that he's going to run again, which could potentially be big for Democrats as to how much they are willing to put into this current stimulus package. He also stated that he will not be starting a new party, which many were saying it was going to be called the Patriot Party. He says, and I quote, "Why would we start a new party when this party is great?" So, what does this mean for stimulus? First off, what we know, after former President Donald Trump spoke, there was a lot of kind of rumors out there that right now, progressives especially, are going to have to push to get Democrats to provide a larger stimulus package. Because right now, what we know is if former President Donald Trump decides to run again for the presidency in 2024, if Democrats do not provide as much stimulus and the best possible stimulus that they can, it's going to provide a door or an open door for former President Donald Trump to come in and take back the presidency. And Democrats don't want that. So, with Donald Trump still on the brink of jumping back in, Democrats cannot twiddle their thumbs and waste time. They cannot delay this large stimulus package. They must do everything in their power to get as many people on board and get as much through as possible. This is why many progressives are saying that they must go bigger. There's no reason why we can't have a larger stimulus check than just $1,400. They also say more unemployment benefits than just $400 and for more than just 20 weeks is needed. And they say getting parents and elderly more help as quickly as possible is essential. And here's the reason why. Democrats understand that providing more for the unemployed, parents, and elderly would actually be a huge boost for their numbers and their votes when they run again in 2022. But will they be able to get more people on board with this plan? As of right now, that is what's currently being said is a difficult task. And this is huge for what we are currently hearing regarding the stimulus package over the past few days. This morning, multiple reports indicated that President Biden doesn't have the support within the Senate to pass the bill as it currently stands. And not to mention the $15 federal minimum wage, and I'll address that in a minute, but the $1,400 stimulus checks, unemployment benefits, the vaccine funding, school funding, okay? There's a lot that goes into this, but the two main things are the $1,400 stimulus checks and the $15 federal minimum wage provision. Those are the two things that are currently having the most issues. Everything else is pretty much a slam dunk, but yet there's still some ongoing talks. Yet this morning, White House Press Secretary Jen Psaki, she stated that President Biden is open to reducing the amount of the $1,400 stimulus checks as to who receives them, not the actual amount. So let me just clarify that, because I think the way I worded that was kind of misleading. President Biden is open to reducing the amount of people that receive the $1,400 stimulus check, not the physical amount. It will stay at $1,400, will not go higher, it will not go lower. But many lawmakers are currently saying that right now, the $1,400 stimulus check goes to too many people that make too much money. They say there's really no reason why somebody making $200,000 or even $190,000 would need any amount of a $1,400 stimulus check, even if it was just, let's say, $500. Why would somebody making $190,000 need a $500 stimulus check? They wouldn't, and that money would be better used elsewhere. A few lawmakers this morning stated that they expect the bill to get reduced to roughly $1.6 trillion before it even gets passed. And right now, that has a bunch of people fairly upset that why should we reduce this package? And again, this is pointing to progressives mainly. They're saying, why do we need to lower this package from 1.9 down to 1.6 when we hold all the power? It makes absolutely no sense. Well, it all comes down to one guy, and that is Joe Manchin. We know that in a vote in early February, there was a vote that took place that called for more targeted stimulus checks. Joe Manchin proposed this. It passed with a vote of 99-1. So this right here, even though the House passed the bill as it stands, and all it did was have a cutoff of $200,000, there was really no other difference. And Joe Manchin is one of those people that is really opposed to this. Some say that if President Biden cannot change this package, or Senate Majority Leader Chuck Schumer cannot get some changes into this package, what's going to happen is Joe Manchin is going to oppose this. And once he does, it will be 51 no's to only 49 yeses, and the bill will not pass. So if we want to see this pass, and if we want to see, get some relief, whether it's rental assistance, stimulus checks, unemployment benefits, state and local government funding, vaccine funding, and all the stuff in between, if we want this, it has to pass. So, like Jen Psaki is saying, or what she said this morning, that we have to make some changes. We have to adjust the size of this package if we want to see it get passed. And that's not good news. Honestly, that is not good news. We also know that this bill could be trimmed by an additional $77 billion simply by cutting out the $15 federal minimum wage increase. We know that the CBO stated it will cost about $77 billion to increase the minimum wage to $15 per hour. But progressives are saying that they must repurpose this money, not save it. They say that we need to spend on things like unemployment benefits, stimulus checks, and possibly even student loans. There's other things we can spend this $77 billion on, but those are the three things they say need it the most. The student loan provision, or the student loan forgiveness, that is currently something that's not in this bill, but Chuck Schumer is most likely going to include it. However, we will see what happens on that sometime later on this week. What I can tell you is that right now, there's a lot of people trying to argue their case within Congress. Again, a lot of Republicans, a lot of progressives. Democrats pretty much have everything they want in this bill, yet, like I said, Senate Majority Leader Chuck Schumer will most likely add in a couple other provisions. But will we see larger stimulus checks? First off, probably not. I don't see this happening because President Biden has been very clear it's going to be $1,400. Will we see a larger unemployment boost? Again, probably not. It probably will not go from $400 to $600. However, it could be extended from August 29th all the way to September 30th. But we could see a few more weeks, again, added to the unemployment benefits. However, that's one of those things that's really in question is, would an additional 4 weeks really help out? Some say yes, it would, but going off of the numbers currently. But as to how many people will be unemployed at that time, that's currently what's unknown. So they say saving this $77 billion and potentially being able to repurpose it later on in the end of the summer, that might be the best use of the money, best bang for our buck. But as of right now, nobody really knows. And again, we could see this money be spent on student loans to have them forgiven. And maybe we see some help for people on a fixed income, for example, people on SSI and SSDI. Right now, there's really no talks on helping anybody on a fixed income outside of a $1,400 stimulus check. But here's the biggest challenge. The biggest challenge that Democrats are facing right now is the $15 federal minimum wage increase and whether or not this can get passed. According to the Washington Post just earlier today, Bernie Sanders and Senator Ron Wyden had pulled the plug on the tax bill to provide a workaround for the $15 minimum wage provision. Some are saying that this would have been too difficult to push through in just 2 weeks. It would have been very difficult and most likely it would have delayed stimulus. Others say that the tax changes that they were planning wouldn't have passed the Byrd rule anyway. So because of that, why put in all this time and effort and then just to see it would not pass? So that's currently what we're hearing on the $15 federal minimum wage. And I say this is a big challenge simply because Democrats will either just leave the bill alone, Well, they got to pull out the $15 federal minimum wage increase, but after they do that, they can leave the bill alone, which would most likely pass fairly quickly. That's at least what some people are saying. Or they could change other pieces of legislation within this bill, and by doing so, they risk delaying the stimulus package by roughly 1 week. Some say this is a good idea, that changing the stimulus package, not by reducing it, but increasing certain pieces of legislation could be a good trade-off for waiting an additional week. Others say no. We cannot wait an additional week because we've been telling the American people the $2,000 stimulus checks were going to be sent out immediately right after the Democrats won the Georgia Senate runoff. But it didn't happen. Just didn't happen. So we're kind of in limbo and we're kind of just waiting. Now, if we hear Democrats are willing to move forward with this bill, even without the $15 federal minimum wage increase included, then this could be great news for all of you guys that are currently waiting around for the stimulus checks at this point. We could see the Senate pass this bill possibly this week. That's what one lawmaker is saying, that if we just move forward, do an up and down vote, this bill will be passed this week, which would mean then the House could pass this bill either later on this week or sometime earlier next week. Then it can be kicked over to President Biden's desk. He could sign it, and we could see this whole thing signed into law by the middle of next week. If that were to happen, or even the early to middle part of next week, if that were to happen, we could see stimulus checks being sent out within the next 2 weeks. We could see not this coming Friday, but next Friday, they could start hitting our bank accounts. If not, we could see it maybe in, let's say 16 or 17 days from now, which is not this week or the following week, but the week after, and that's the early part of that following week. So that could be really good. But what we know right now is Congress is still fighting. They're still working on this. They're still trying to get the $15 federal minimum wage increase included. But at this time, Democrats, their idea of their plan B is currently struggling because nothing is going to pass. Some progressives say, why do we have a Senate parliamentarian that is siding with Republicans? We need to get rid of her, just can her, let's get somebody else, and then we can pass this under the Byrd Rule. But others say, no, we can't just get rid of people within the Senate just because they don't vote our way. That's currently what President Biden's stance is, and we will see if that remains the same. But we will know more later on this week. So that is what we know right now. But as always, consider subscribing so I can continue to keep you updated on everything that's going on. And I'll see you guys on the next one.